Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect 2. My name is Pete and today we already complete episode 40 of our Mass Effect 2 Insanity walkthrough. In the last episode we recruited our second to last squad member Tali, and today we will complete our first somewhat lengthy conversation with her as well as a short assignment. All things considered, I think this will be a fairly relaxed episode. We will of course have a bit of combat and we'll also see the new Geth pulse rifle in action, but there won't be any life-threatening encounters. So let's get to it, and to start things off we will quickly do some research. We picked up 2 damage upgrades in the last episode, one for the heavy pistol and one for the assault rifle. Researching both of those will also unlock an additional upgrade for each of those weapons, and we start things off with the pistol. The first upgrade here gives a 20% damage bonus, the second one then focuses on the pistol's armor-penetrating capabilities, with a lovely 50% damage bonus against targets wearing armor. The first upgrade for the assault rifle, meanwhile, gives us a 30% damage increase, and we will actually see that in action later this episode as we test out the Geth pulse rifle. With the damage upgrade researched, we now unlock the accuracy upgrade. However, the game doesn't give us any numbers here, it only says that assault rifles are now much more accurate. Still, an improvement is an improvement, so we'll take it and not complain. Now, our next stop is engineering, where we will have our first lengthy conversation with Tali. At the end of the last episode, she did not seem to be overly excited to be working alongside Cerberus, so that is something we probably want to talk about. Additionally, when we met her in the last episode, she was collecting some research data on Haestrom, so maybe she has already received the first results and can tell us a bit more.
Shepard, what can I do for you?
Now, to get this conversation started, we will do some small talk, specifically regarding how the new Normandy is suiting her.
Is the new Normandy giving you any trouble?
Please, Shepard, I'm a Quarian. Give me a chunk of scrap metal, a circuit board, and some element 0, and I'll have it making precision jumps. I was worried about working with Cerberus engineers, but they know what they're doing, and they've been very polite.
How's the Normandy running?
Say what you will about Cerberus, they know how to build ships. The Normandy's running even better than before. I don't know if it can stand up to a collector attack, though. I'm researching some ideas that might help.
Well, I think it can't be any more obvious that Tali has some upgrades in store for us, so let's see what she can do to improve the ship further.
Can you do anything to give the Normandy an edge over a collector ship?
Definitely. With the right supplies, I can fortify our shields. The collectors cut through the Normandy's barriers immediately last time. My upgrades might give us a better chance.
Right, the upgrade she mentioned can obviously be found under ship enhancements, and it is this one right here, multi-core shielding for a cost of 15,000 Palladium, a price that is definitely going to be worth it. Now, of course, we have only scratched the surface of our dialogue options with her, so let's dive right back in and ask a few more personal questions.
Shepard, what can I do for you?
Have you got time to talk?
We didn't really have time to chat while taking out Geth on Haestrom, did we? I can't believe so many people died. Thank you again for getting Rieger out alive. All for data about stars blowing up. I hope the Admiralty Board gets some use out of it.
Now, it does not sound like Tali has received any updates on the data she collected, but it can't hurt to ask anyway.
Any news yet on the data you sent?
I'm not likely to hear anything for a while, or on an unsecured channel for that matter.
Now, Tali also mentioned the Admiralty Board, which sounds like some sort of governing body for the Quarian flotilla, so I guess it's time to learn a bit more about Quarian politics.
Tell me about the fleet's Admiralty Board.
It's one of 2 major political powers among my people. The admirals make decisions related to defense or needing immediate action. They also handle major criminal charges, like treason. The other political power is the Conclave, a group of representatives from each ship. They make most of our laws and fleet decisions.
Now, we also have the option here to ask about Cal Rieger, the only other Quarian survivor of Tali's mission, and even though he did survive, he looked pretty rough the last time we saw him.
Have you heard any word about Cal Rieger? Did he survive his injuries?
He sent me a message. It looks like he'll make a full recovery. Anytime you get a suit puncture, it's a matter of luck. Rieger got out with a relatively minor infection.
Now, we have talked about research, the Admiralty Board and Cal Rieger, but the only thing we haven't touched upon yet is Tali herself.
Having any trouble settling back in on the Normandy?
I like the quiet. I miss the old faces, though. Presley, Engineer Adams, all of them. It doesn't seem right having Cerberus in charge of this ship. Are you sure working for them is the right thing to do?
Now, before we collect morality points in a moment, we can clarify a few things about our relationship with Cerberus, even though this first answer here does come off as a bit naive.
Does it look like they're pulling the strings, Tali? I'm not working for them. They're working for me.
So you ordered the listening devices and tracking beacons that are all over this ship. I know you need resources to fight the Collectors, but be careful, Shepard.
Now, of course, Tali makes a few very good points here. Still, her resentment towards Cerberus seems to be rooted a lot deeper than that.
I caught some tension back on Freedom's Progress and again when you first came aboard. What happened between Cerberus and the Quarians?
They attacked one of our ships, the Edena. It seems they were attempting to kill or control a young human biotic who was on the fleet. I don't really know the details. I do know that Cerberus made an enemy of the Quarian people.
And especially in light of that backstory, I think there is only one option here. We will of course go with the Paragon choice, reassuring Tali that we will keep our eyes open.
I fully expect them to betray us at some point, and we'll be ready.
I'm glad to hear that, Shepard. Just let me know how I can help. For now, I should get back to work. Thanks for coming by.
Alright, we received 2 Paragon points, and with Tali on board we can now also finally complete another small assignment.
Garrus put some crazy tech into the main guns. It's almost doubled their power draw.
They seem pretty wicked.
Indeed. Don't worry. A few tweaks to the forward capacitors, and the balance is back in line.
Now, you might remember that our 2 engineers here were quite a while ago asking for new FBA couplings. And we have actually already bought those way back on our first trip to Omega. However, because there are a few lines of unique dialogue for Tali in this quest, we will turn it in only now.
You're the best, Commander. We just got those FBA couplings installed. Now we only have to calibrate every week instead of every day. We're thinking about celebrating our newfound free time with some Skillian 5 poker. Want to join us?
Come on, Kenneth. The commander doesn't want to play cards with grease monkeys like us.
And yes, we will play some poker, and because Tali is here now, she can play as well.
Actually, that sounds interesting.
You in, Tali?
Sure, that sounds fun.
Fantastic. I'll get the cards.
Right, so as you can see, we have a Charm and an Intimidate option here on the left side, and even though we do not receive any morality points for it, we want to make sure to choose one of those 2. We will go with Charm, but in this case, Intimidate would work just as well.
My Skillian 5's a bit rusty. You'll be easy on the rookie, right?
Of course, Commander. It's all friendly.
Yeah, right.
And here we are, because everyone has been so easy on us, we just won 500 credits, and had we chosen one of the options on the right, we would have either won only 100, or we could have also lost 100.
Be gentle on the rookie. I can't believe we fell for that.
Never underestimate Shepard.
It's so worth losing to see you taken down a notch.
Beat me at my own game. You're alright, Shepard.
Now, with 500 credits more in our pocket, we have nothing else to do here for the time being, but before we head back up to the bridge, we can listen to a few more wise words from Zaid.
Shepard, I was just waxing goddamn nostalgic. Collectors and Protheans, it's all above my pay grade. I'm more used to putting down rebellions, tracking down bastards who didn't pay their gambling debts. Still, even I know a galaxy-shaking revelation when I hear one. Makes fighting land wars for pay seem small time. Can't say I blame Taylor's pop. A man does what he has to do to survive. Ran up against a Batarian camp, not too different from that one. Job was to erase the whole thing from the map. Men, women, and the man in charge. Learned that day that despots are cowards. You show them you're in charge, not them, and they cry like little girls. I should let you go. Talk more later, Shepard.
Alright, time to head back to the elevator and make our return to the CIC, where we have a message and another short conversation waiting for us.
Commander, you've received a new message at your private terminal.
The message here is technically still part of Tali's recruitment mission, as it comes from the Migrant Fleet's Admiralty Board. They inform us that they have approved Tali's transfer from the fleet to our command, even though, if we're being honest, they did not really have a say in the matter, after Tali simply decided to join us after the mission on Haystrom. The board also issues a more or less subtle warning here, reminding us to treat Tali with respect and threatening severe action should any harm come to her. All in all, it does not seem like the board is overly pleased with Tali's decision, but again, it's also clear that their hands are tied in this matter. Now, moving on, there is one last thing we can take care of on board of the ship before we set course for the next adventure, and that is to get Joker's opinion on the latest addition to the crew, and maybe he has something positive to say for a change, considering that Tali is a familiar face.
It's great to see Tali on board, Commander, just like old times. It is her, right? I mean, because with the mask, it's... Ah, never mind.
That's it for now.
See you, Commander.
And here we are now, finally ready to embark on the next part of our journey. Our next mission won't be too long, we will just check off another small assignment, but we will also do some planet scanning and even some resource collecting. At the moment, the Normandy is still in the Dolan system of the Far Rim cluster, but today we will travel to the neighboring Pylos Nebula. We arrive in the Narif system, and before we start our tour we desperately need some fuel, and while we're here we will also refill our supply of probes. The Narif system itself is already fully explored, but there are 3 more in this cluster, and we will start things off with Chrysaroy, which is far off to the right here. This system consists of 5 planets to visit, beginning with the icy dwarf planet Tinoth. However, apart from an incredibly cold surface temperature of -220 degrees Celsius, there is nothing too remarkable about this one. Minerals should definitely be mined elsewhere, so let's leave again. Our next stop is therefore the gas giant Geos, but again this is not exactly a mineral-rich planet. A few thousand units of each mineral, excluding element 0 of course, can be found here, but it's probably better to probe other places for better results. That brings us to Nidus, a rather cold planet despite its proximity to the system's center, as only small regions average temperatures above the freezing point. It is home to some animal and plant life, although mineral-wise there are once again better spots to be found, however not necessarily in this system. The ice giant Uzin proves that point quite well, as it may be an interesting planet because of its 37 moons, but certainly not because of its mineral supplies, which are again nothing to get excited about. As the 5th and last planet in the system, we then travel to Theonax, another planet covered in ice and water, but for a change there are some mineral deposits worth mentioning here, specifically for the element platinum, of which over 15,000 units can easily be found. And that's the Chrysaroy system completed. Up next we steer the Normandy over to the Satan system, where we will actually probe 2 planets. And the first of those is also our first stop in the system, the Volus colony Boro. Yes, not only can we find intelligent life on this planet, but also a sizable amount of minerals, including element 0, and that is exactly what we're here for, as our supplies are not necessarily running low, but certainly decreasing a bit. On Boro we can obtain slightly over 6,000 units worth of it for the price of only 6 probes. Our next stop is then Rysaris, a planet that was once hit by an asteroid composed partially of element 0, and that is also why we will launch a few probes at this one as well. In total, we once again find just over 6,000 units, bringing our total supply back up to almost 35,000. Now, the rest of the system is quickly explored. Almost in the system's center we have Raskil, a very hot planet that orbits around the system's sun every 4.5 days, but one that does not hold a vast amount of minerals and thus does not warrant an extensive stop. Planet number 4 is then Anidia, a small icy planet that offers a pretty substantial supply of platinum, but has no other remarkable qualities worth mentioning at this point. Finally then, we have the gas giant Natasia, but once again, mineral mining should be done elsewhere, as this planet does not offer much.
Only half our fuel remains.
Now, bear with me here, we're almost done, only the derailleur system is left, which is also going to be the location of today's small mission. Starting us off is the ice giant Viorisa, a planet that apparently had some recent pirate activity in its vicinity, and combined with its lackluster amount of minerals, that is reason enough to quickly move on. Up next we have Cineus, a planet whose only quality really is its vast number of moons. The mineral deposits on the other hand are laughably small, so let's continue and not spend any more time here. A bit further we find another gas giant in Geth, and once again there is absolutely no reason to stay any longer than we have to, because minerals are not exactly this planet's strong suit. That situation finally changes as we approach Cyano. This rock planet has a great amount of iridium as well as a smaller element 0 deposit, but because it's only roughly half the size of the two we just emptied out earlier, we won't send any more probes down. Our second to last stop is Thanusi, another rock planet and also another planet with a decent iridium deposit. Up to 11,000 units can be found here, but we already have plenty, so we'll move on to our final stop, the location of our quest.
Anomaly detected.
Canalus is a geologically unstable planet with lots of tectonic activity, as well as with a good amount of palladium. However, we are here for another reason, so let's scan the surface for the anomaly that Edie just found.
Probe launched. Scans have found something.
Okay, we detect anomalous weather, whatever that means, as well as Geth activity. Possibly those two things are related, so let's assemble a squad and investigate. Since we're about to face some Geth, we will bring Tali along for her very first mission, as well as Garrus, so we have two old companions by our side who both have some useful powers for this mission. Now with Shepard we have 4 points to spend here, and that means we can finally purchase the third rank in disruptor ammo, making the ability a bit more powerful. Meanwhile, Tali has not received any powers yet, so we have 22 points to spend, and we start things off by maxing out Quarian Machinist for a boost to her health, weapon damage and power duration. For the ability evolution, we can choose between Quarian Engineer, focusing more on power duration, and Quarian Mechanic, which gives a slightly bigger bonus to weapon damage. And while Tali can do some damage with her weapons, her powers are really what makes her shine in combat, so we'll go with Engineer here to further increase the duration of those. That leaves us with 12 points, and we can spend 2 to upgrade her combat drone, which then also unlocks AI hacking, and that one is going to be very useful, especially in this mission, so let's immediately max it out. We can now choose between improved and area AI hacking, with the first increasing the time that a synthetic enemy stays hacked and also giving a nice shield boost, further increasing its survivability, while the latter gives the power some range, allowing Tali to potentially hack multiple robotic enemies at once. However, most of the time, even with a bit of an impact radius, the ability will only affect one enemy at a time, so we might as well make the most out of that and go with improved AI hacking. And since the duration and the cooldown are identical, we should be able to use this ability more or less non-stop. That leaves us only with Garrus, whose 4 points will go into Overload. And we have talked about this before, I think with both Kasumi and Miranda, Overload is mostly a crowd control anti-shield power, so I personally prefer the Area Overload evolution, and that is also what we're going with for him. Now, weapon-wise, we will see the debut of the Geth Pulse Rifle both on Shepard and on Garrus, which is very effective against shields and in combination with disruptor ammo should do nicely against the Geth. Tali meanwhile goes into battle with a shotgun and a heavy pistol, so we have no rapid-fire options for her. Alright, Alright, here we are now on Canalus, and you can already see the weather anomaly, causing visibility to be incredibly limited. Through the fog we can see a shimmering device which is apparently causing the issue, so our task is simple: get over there and disable it. Now, to get us started, we want to stay on the right side here, because near this rock formation we can find the first of 12 Palladium containers in this mission. Moving on, we walk up towards the flare here and then turn left until we cross under a small stone overhang and go up a short incline. At the end there is Palladium container number 2, and if we turn left we can collect number 3 and 4 as well. At that fourth one we then turn right and hug the left side wall as we go back down, which will bring us right back to where we started. You can see the shuttle parked right here. 4 down, 8 more to go, but first we have some company to take care of as we advance beyond that first flare we discovered earlier. Unfortunately, the Geth can see us before we can see them and immediately open fire, and the best course of action here is to simply rush into cover and assess the situation. Once we have an enemy in sight, we can then retaliate with the pulse rifle, and as you can see, this weapon has a very fast rate of fire and takes down shields very quickly. A Geth without shields can now also fall victim to Tali's AI hacking power, which will now equip this unit with a new shield charge and turn it on its Geth companions. And this gives us a bit of time to collect ourselves and take out some of the other synthetics in the area. Now, one thing that you are probably noticing by now is that despite of its fast firing rate, the Geth pulse rifle does very little damage per shot. Yes, shields are stripped in the matter of just a few seconds, but to do considerable amounts of damage or to eliminate an enemy entirely, we have to keep the trigger pulled for an extended period of time. This is, in my opinion, the weapon's biggest drawback, at least on Insanity difficulty, because staying out of cover for too long is simply not an option in most fights, but this weapon requires it to unfold its potential. Admittedly, against these comparatively weak Geth troopers, the issue does not come into play that much, but once bigger and tougher opponents enter the battlefield, the pulse rifle can become a risky weapon to use. Now, among the enemies in this first group are 2 Geth hunters, excellent targets for AI hacking, as they are considerably more powerful than the troopers. Hacking them also prevents them from sneaking up on us with their cloaking ability, so that we can push forwards without the risk of getting stabbed in the back. Still, all in all, I would advise taking this first fight very slowly and carefully, simply because the poor visibility can make it incredibly easy to miss an enemy in a more aggressive, straightforward approach. Eventually then, all enemies are defeated, and after collecting some ammunition, we want to find this piece of cover here consisting of some rocks and what looks like a metal shield. From here we want to go to the left until we find this decline in the terrain, because at the end of it we can grab Palladium crate number 5. That is also all we can find down here, so let's head back up. From that piece of cover we now want to move forwards until we stumble upon crate number 6. Right behind that one there is also number 7, but at this point we do not want to continue in this direction. Instead, we want to turn around and head back for a few meters and then go up this small incline here towards crate number 8. Now, moving on, we take the only path that's open to us, and we will more or less automatically discover the 9th crate a little further in the back over here. Once we have it, we want to use this big rock in the middle as a guiding point and run over to the other side of it where crate number 10 is hidden. From that crate we continue going left, which brings us into a small rock outcropping holding crate number 11. Only one more to go, and at this point we simply follow the path ahead of us until we run into the small rock formation on the ground. From here we then need to get a move on towards a second formation like this up ahead, behind which we have more enemies waiting for us. Once again, to get us started, the distance between us and the Geth is bigger than our range of vision, so a very good first move is to simply stay put and make sure everyone has a position in cover. The enemy that should then be among our first targets is the Geth destroyer in that group ahead of us, because just like the hunters earlier, it is bigger and stronger than the troopers accompanying it and is therefore a prime target for Tali's AI hacking power. However, this strategy does come at a small price, since the Geth will be busy fighting among themselves and won't come any closer, which makes hitting them pretty difficult even with the sniper rifle. Still, sitting around and waiting for the enemies to eliminate themselves is a far better choice than to be overwhelmed by them in close combat, so especially on Insanity difficulty I see no problem in letting the Destroyer do a lot of the early work. Now, at this point I think I can also reveal that we are probably not going to use the Geth Pulse Rifle for an extended period of time, because I feel like it simply just exposes us too much and makes us vulnerable to enemy fire. That's not to say that it doesn't have its uses. Against the Geth it's ironically a very useful weapon, and we even get another kill for the Brawler achievement with it here, but all in all, for a day-to-day combat assault rifle, I prefer the Vindicator that we were using up until now. Now here you can also see how dangerous the Geth hunters can be in this weather, because normally you can see their faint outlines even when they're cloaked, but in this case I was completely blindsided by the hunter appearing right next to us, and only a last-second AI hack prevents it from killing us at point-blank range. The lone Geth trooper here then serves as a prime example for the hunter's damage-dealing abilities in close combat, although at this point we are helping out a bit, and can then also shoot the unsuspecting hunter in the back for the second-to-last kill of the mission. Only one single trooper remains. It is hidden behind the rock pillar over here and does not stand a chance. It goes down to a punch, so we don't get another brawler kill, but we do get the last Palladium crate behind the small barrier here, and can then move up to the Geth device to finally do something about the weather we're in.
This might be useful.
And here we are, mission completed. We have turned off the device and we have also recovered Geth climate change technology, whatever that may be. As usual for these short assignments we earn 125 experience points, and for shutting off the device we are also awarded a damage protection upgrade for a 30% bonus to shields, barriers and armor. On the monetary side of things we received the usual 7,500 credits, and after recovering 12 Palladium crates our supplies increased by 2,000 units. Back on the Normandy, I would now say that we have reached an excellent point to make the cut, but before we leave, I want to ask a small question, because at this point we have successfully recruited every available romance option for a male Commander Shepard in this game. That means we should start to think about who our romantic partner for this playthrough is going to be. I would love for Shepard to stay faithful to Liara, but unfortunately doing so will not unlock the Paramour achievement, and since this is a completionist playthrough we will not finish the game without it. There are ways to have a romance with someone else and still be on good terms or even rekindle the love with Liara, but to get the achievement we will have to get serious with someone else, even if it's only temporary. That someone else could be Miranda, who we already had some semi-romantic interactions with, but, and I don't think I'm spoiling too much here, we also have a few other squad members on board now who could potentially be interested, Tali included. So in the comments down below let me know who you would like to see as Shepard's romantic partner in this playthrough, and also whether or not you want us to eventually get back together with Liara after unlocking the Paramour achievement. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. Also, if you want to support me and my channel further, then go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already, or check out and maybe pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.